Ohio Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur. She voted against the TARP bailout of the banks in 2008. She sits on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, which is now investigating TARP. So, Congresswoman, let me ask you first about Goldman Sachs. Any way we can get that $3 billion back for the American taxpayer?
I believe that we should. I have a bill that, first of all, would recoup all their bonuses at 100%. And in addition to that, I would be the first in Congress to tax them to get our money back. Over the last 2 years, they've made over $22 billion in profits. And yet, they rigged the system because they have so much power. 6 banks, as the gentleman said, have 2/3 of the money of this country. Think about how concentrated and uncompetitive our credit system is, and how they've stifled lending at the local level, which is hurting our recovery. They have so much power. They were able to get their nose, Goldman Sachs, under the tent of the FDIC. They said, oh, we're not speculators, we're bankers now. And they literally made the American taxpayer their insurance company. It's wrong.
Yeah, look, they got bigger, as the commission explains. The whole thing's an outrage. Everybody should be outraged by it, but honestly, they bought both sides. I'm not talking about, of course, all the Democrats in Congress. You're obviously one of the ones fighting back. That's why we've got you on the show. But the Tim Geithner for Obama, for him to appoint him was an outrage to begin with. It's good to see that the commission came to some of the same conclusions that we've been talking about all this time. So, but now let me turn to the Republicans. Now, if you go to the Republicans and say, hey, I want to get the money back, as your plan is to, and they got all these votes from the Tea Party guys who are livid about the bailout, they're not going to agree, are they?
It looks very dicey right now because the financial services industry is the largest contributor in presidential and congressional races. We need to get the money out of politics. In fact, this week, the Republican Party took away the voluntary contributions that citizens could make for public financing of our campaigns. That isn't required. It's voluntary. If Americans are intelligent enough to know that our current system is really taking their government away from them by these big interests, they would be the first to say we ought to reform campaign finance. But the very individuals, the very companies that are the biggest givers are those that have just put their hands into the taxpayers' till of this country. We've got to set that aside. We've got to return our republic back to the American people.
You know, one of the vice presidents of Goldman Sachs came out in Davos and said, oh, no, the real problem is regulation, and that we are overregulated. And, you know, look, there are Republican guys that they bought go along with that. Part of the Republicans on the commission put out their own comical version of the report, not mentioning Wall Street at all. They literally banned the word Wall Street or the phrase Wall Street from their commission. So what do you do when the other party just purposely ignores the actual facts in the case?
Well, let's remind people that Hank Paulson, who had headed Goldman Sachs, was the Secretary of the Treasury in September, October of 2008 when all of this came down. And Joshua Bolten, who had run the Goldman operation in England, was the president's chief of staff, President Bush's chief of staff. They were in the catbird seat when all of this was rammed through the Congress at lightning speed back in 2008. So you can really criticize that administration, but if you look at the current administration and the legislation that passed, it didn't break up the big banks. It didn't restore competition to the system of credit that we have in this country because you had people like Michael Patterson and others who were brought over from Goldman. They maintained their position. It's almost like a Wall Street government.
Yeah, that's the kind of honesty I like. And that's a Democratic administration, but it's absolutely true what you just said. So we really want to thank you, Congresswoman Kaptur, for coming on tonight.
Thank you very much.